Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over my updated Approved Ops 2024 map pack for Kill Team. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of it and if you found anything useful and any suggestions. Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, an affiliate link and discount code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today I'm going over my fully updated Approved Ops map pack. So I have map packs for all the kill zones. So I've updated Octarius a bit, but I've also got WTC, Chalnath, Moroch, and Nachmund as well. So I've done all of that. This was all done with the Kill Team Battle Kit website done by Albert Cortez. So, you know, I used all of those because even though I've fully painted WTC and I've got WTC, I've got all the kill zones. I've only fully painted Octarius, Moroch, and well, I haven't fully painted all of them, and it takes way too much work to take all the photos, and they've got the nice grid, so I've updated that to make it all clearer. Once again, you'll be able to download this for free. There'll be a QR code and download link everywhere throughout the video, so the download link will be in the episode description, the QR code will be in the video, so you know, just use that and then go ahead. So without further ado, let's get on with the updated map packs. As you can see, this is the first page. So going into Octarius, once again, it's the same as before. You've got 4 ramshackle walls, which are heavy with accessible doors. Then you've got Vantage, and then the platforms up top are light. You've got 3 light ramshackle barricades, and then the oil pump with this heavy Vantage, and the tap is insignificant. I've also added hatches onto the 2 Octarius ramshackle walls. So a hatch is accessible. Operatives can climb directly up while underneath the hatch and drop when on top of the hatch. So, you know, basically, normally you have to be near a piece of climbable terrain. This just lets you climb back up and then drop back down. Remember, you still have to pay an inch to climb through accessible stuff. Don't try and game it. It's just literally giving hatches back. So that's the only real change for Octarius. And then once again, you've got the scrap pile showing you how you can scramble charge and scramble reposition. Oh, just to clarify as well, people weren't sure about this, but you can door fight on Octarius. Any kill zone using doors, you can use door fights from the Vocus kill zone. Then map 1, no real change there. I've just made it clearer because people were confused how the objectives go. So once again, the objectives are supposed to go half under each side of the ramshackle walls, so you can claim from either side. Same thing there for map 2, so you know, you've got similar loadouts. Map 3 is pretty much unchanged as well, just making the objective placement clearer. And then same for 4 as well, just spacing it out a bit more because these images are more accurate. And then there's map 5 with no real changes as well, you know, just once again a bit more clearer. And then finally we have map 6 with, I think the only change is that I moved the large light wall up a bit more. So it's just to slow down charges just a little bit. But otherwise, all the Octarius maps are pretty much the same. So now we get onto the World Team Championships Kill Team terrain. So you can find this on Bandua. So I've had a lot of requests for this. So if you're familiar, nothing much has really changed. So you've still got windows where you can draw a line of sight and visibility from. You've got doors which are accessible. You've got hatches which are also accessible. The top ramparts are light, and then you've got the light Vantage. Everything else is heavy. And remember, with the heavy pillars, the top part on a vantage point is insignificant, so you can only get cover from the light wall, so no real change there. The doorway is heavy and accessible, so it works like a Gallo Dark door, so you can just move through either side for an inch. Then you've got a window where visibility and line of sight allows to be drawn through. Now, no, I know in WTC they count these as 2 inches high. I am ruling them, they are their actual height, so whatever they are tall as, you pay for. So I believe for these, they're like 2.1 or 2.2 inches tall, which means they're 3 inches to climb, which is fine, right? They are not 2 inches to climb. And I've messed up the QR code a bit, but it's fine. I'm not going to change it. So, and then you've got 4 heavy walls, which have the gaps and bottom of the walls are blocking, so they don't provide visibility to be drawn through. Then you've got 2 light boxes and 4 light barricades. So that's all the WTC terrain you have there. So for map 1, remember this is the general approved ops. You can see the red side has a heavy wall in 1 inch into their drop zone, just to make sure it's not too easy for them to get up to the mid. Whereas on the grey side, they can quite easily get forward to the mid, but if they have to move around, they have to climb that light box over there. So it's going to at least cost them 2 inches to get into the mid. So it's not exactly free. So they're effectively, if they want to get safely onto the point, then it's going to take at least 5 inches of movement. Then, you know, you've got each other objective has their own building to keep it safe. But you will actually notice the windows are generally trying to not cover too much of the objective. So if you are trying to camp the objective, you're behind the window, so if someone gets within an inch of the window, they can shoot you, or you're hiding behind the door, which means you can be door fought. So those buildings aren't as safe as they look. Then once again for map 2, I've moved the L shape to the left side of the board. So this time I've put the window over the objective. So effectively, if you're on the objective, you're going to be shot, right? If someone gets within 2 inches of you, you're going to be shot, which is very easy, or they can fight you. And then you've got the door to the right-hand side where you can just move through as well at a cost, right? So it's not exactly free. Then the red side has a heavy wall on their objective, whereas the grey side has a heavy building. But to make up for the red side, they can stage a bit more forward with their heavy building. So it's not exactly pointless. And then I've put a light barricade on the right of the grey side building, just so you can actually tuck in to kind of safely control that objective from the outside. So the opponent inside has to go out and deal with you, which is, I think, some nice counterplay. Then for WTC Map 3, this time the door is covering the central objective with the window to the other side. Made it kind of like a T, like Mr. T, to kind of just even it out a bit so both sides can equally stage up there. Whereas the bottom side has 2 vantages touching together. This is just perspective, but none of the vantages are supposed to be in the drop zone. It's just a weird thing. They're on the ledge. They're on the edge of the drop zone. It's just because of how the perspective works for this map pack builder. So red side is a bit more defensive in terms of like their home objective, but to make it fairer for grey side, I've allowed them to stage with a heavy wall. So even though the red side is more easily defendable, the grey side can push up better to kind of like mitigate that. Then for map 4, I've kind of done like a weird zigzag line in the middle at an angle to test out angles. And then, once again, heavy wall for grey side, building up on red. And then there's enough staging points for both sides. So technically the grey side's a little bit more difficult to get to the mid because they have to traverse over a grey barricade. A light box, sorry. But they've got better staging points to kind of mitigate the red side's easier defense of their building and a slightly better place for them to stage. Then for map 5, I've gone with an L-shaped building design, this time a heavy wall separating the middle. Remember, these are, I believe, just 2 inches to climb. And then you've also got a building on the red side for the left-hand side for them to kind of hold their objective, whereas grey side can kind of control that door because you've got a light barricade, well, a light box on the objective, so generally anyone shooting is going to be obscured, so you have like better places to stage. Well, the red side has better places to stage because they have that heavy barricade near the central objective and the door. So turning point 1, they can just move up there and wait. So it's not exactly like it's free. Whereas the grey side, if they want to push up to the mid, they're basically going to be either tucking behind one of the veins on the heavy building, the heavy pillar, or the light barricade. So everywhere will be obscured, but then there's more staging points at the red side. Then for map 6, I've gone with the touching building designs again. Both objectives on either player side has a pillar, kind of keeping it safe. So you can definitely keep one guy safe, but you're going to get charged quite quickly. And then the middle point has a single heavy barricade. So this is going to be a quite tight one. The interesting thing I've done for the grey side, I've given this long light wall. So you can get closer to the central objective safer, whereas for the red side, they can keep one operative safe, but they're likely to get non-obscured shots on them. Whereas the grey side, you know, they can move up a little bit more, but it's a bit riskier. So it's kind of trying to balance out these maps. Then we go into Chalnath. So the heavy walls are, well, the ruin walls are heavy, so no change there. The ruin buildings are heavy. They are not scalable. I've decided not to include scalable because then if you combine it with ladders, it just gets really confusing. So if you want to climb them, going to need to use a ladder. It will cost you 5 inches to climb these because they're 5 inches tall. So it's a interesting climb there because technically everyone should be able to climb it apart from short people, but you'll have to use ladders because otherwise if they were scalable, basically everyone would climb these for effectively free and then use ladders over all of the walls. I like Chalnath being this slow, kind of sloggy table. You've got hatches, which are unchanged from before, and doors, which are accessible. Then for Chalnath Map 1, so this should be all the terrain. It should be. But basically, I've tried to keep the theme of putting the buildings in the center. So in the middle point, you've got a pillar, or like there should be a pillar where the objective is. So there is some place for someone to stay safe, but it's a very risky place to stay safe. And then you've both got 2 safe objectives with staging points from either side. Either the red side can stage from the building, the center building, whereas the grey side can stage from like their heavy walls. Map 2, I've gone kind of similar. I've put a heavy building, the small one in the middle, and then I've put the big one covering both of the other objectives. So you've got some interesting counterplay there, whereas some nice staging points for either player. So no one really gets the best advantage. Like you're still going to need to move and dash to get onto the, well, reposition and dash to get onto the middle point. But from where it is, it should cause some interesting engagements. Then for map 3, this time I have the small building covering both objectives, whereas the big one covers the central one. So most people can really stage quite quickly. So it kind of, even though it's still quite safe drop zones, it's quite an open kill zone. So you're going to have to like maximize using smokes and stuff to stage. Then for Chalnath, I forgot to point out that the buildings are accurate, not the terrain key, so there's nothing on the top buildings. So this time I've put a small heavy piece in the center, whereas each building is protecting each other objective, trying to balance out the staging point so it isn't too advantageous to either side. Then for map 5, this time I have the small building covering the 2 closest objectives, whereas the big one on the red side covers their objective. So their objective is quite safe, but to balance it out, grey side can actually stage a bit better. So it's not like the be all on end all. And then for map 6, once again, you've got the big building covering 2 objectives and the smaller one covering the central one. Once again, with nice staging points, but it is still quite an open kill zone. And then for the Nachmund terrain, which was the most difficult to work with. So the crane is heavy, the pipes are light with the gaps underneath being blocking. The fuel reservoir and smokestack are heavy with the gaps underneath being blocking as well. Then you've got the thermic plasma regulator, which you get 2 of as well. They are heavy. The rampart is light if you have built them. And the vantage, well, the platform has the vantage trait. So, you know, it's basically the same as before. I believe about 3 inches to climb. Then the ferrotonic furnace has the heavy trait. It has 2 ladders, and on the map they're indicated by a dark blue line. The platform has the vantage trait, while its ramparts have the light trait if you have built any. Then you've got the exhaust vent, which you get 2 of, which are light. It has the exhaust vent action. So basically, the exhaust vent is a terrain feature that creates an area of smoke, as per the smoke grenade universal equipment, but with a radius of 2 inches measured from the edge of the exhaust vent terrain. This is an area of smoke that remains active for the game, except if the close vent mission action is performed, see below, on this terrain feature. So the close vent mission action, an operative can perform this while within 1 inch of an exhaust vent. That terrain feature stops creating an area of smoke. This operative cannot perform this action while within control range of an enemy operative. So exactly as the same before. So the only difference is the radius is a bit bigger because most people are measuring from the center. I've gone with measuring from the edge as well as per the rules from basically this edition. And everyone inside just counts as being within smoke. So I've made it simple. It works like a smoke grenade that lasts forever. And a ferrotonic furnace has ladders. So the ladders work as if they are ladders. So if you're not using the ladders to climb, I believe it's 5 inches to climb the furnace. Otherwise, you're spending 1 inch. Because I thought about making it 2 inches to climb the ladder, and I was like, this is way too confusing. So to simplify it, ladders work like ladders, so they're 1 inch to climb, and the exhaust vent creates an area of smoke. So if you're inside it, you count as being in smoke. So you're obscured, and you are also immune to the piercing rule. So for Nachmund Map 1, as you can see, the ladders are shown as where they are by the blue lines. You've got the heavy crane in the middle, then you've got the 2 plasma regulators on each objective, and the smokes are just there to provide some like closer staging points for you to get onto the objectives. But getting onto the objective is still going to be risky because that crane doesn't provide too much cover, right? It's just the crane should be blocking as well, kind of. But where the struts are, it's fine. You can still see through it. So if they're within 2, you can shoot. So it's not like the safest of kill zones to be on. Then for map 2, this time I put the smokes in the middle. So they don't really keep the drop zone safe, but if you wanted to stage in the middle, you can. Notably for the middle objective on the center line, you can technically be on it while just within the area of smoke, but you will be in the open. So it's like not the safest objective unless you're just trying to be incredibly brave. But you've got the furnaces on each point, and once again, like if you get to the mid and turn off the center smoke, you can kind of quickly shoot in to each enemy drop zone. So it's not like it's completely free. Well, I mean, you can still shoot into the enemy drop zones, so you've still got that counterplay. Then you've got Nachmund Map 3, this time where the smokes are to allow some safe staging, but not really anywhere near the objectives to like cover them properly. Then you've got the ferrotonic furnace in the middle, a light pipe in the middle to provide some staging, and then the plasma regulators to provide some cover again. Then for Nachmund Map 4, once again, it's very similar. This time I put the smokes in the drop zones to provide some safe drop zone. Right, you're going to be quite further back because the problem is if I put them in the middle, it's just too easy to get to the mid. So I wanted to make it quite risky. So you've still got some places to stage, like you're going to have to use more smokes and light barricades, but at least you've got safer drop zones this time. Then for map 5, I've put the smokes in the middle of the kill zone on each corner. So if you wanted to push up on the top, you've got a place to hide behind the smoke, and you can do so in the bottom. And once again on the bottom, because it's quite hard to get in cover, you've got the smoke where if you are on the objective in the open, you're protected by smoke. But obviously someone can just run and turn that off. So you're going to have to be quite careful about how you do this. And then for map 6, it's this time you've got the crane covering both objectives. So, you know, you can both hide with the crane, but then you'll be charged from the other side. And then the center objective is just covered by the ferrotonic furnace, but you've also got a light terrain piece. So it's trying to balance it up there, because if you get up onto the mid, you can basically shoot all the kill zone. And to make it fairer, because of how risky it is to get onto that objective, I've put smokes as staging points where you can just move up and stage, but you can't really do much else. Then we come on to Moroch. I actually really like Moroch, but people hate Moroch, so I've tried to make Moroch work, which is difficult. So you've got the Allspec Shrine, which is heavy. Then its little like green piece you can see there is light. The yellow is insignificant, so you just ignore that for climbing. The Fronteris landing pad is heavy. I haven't included like the 2-inch rule because I believe it's just exactly 2 inches to climb anyway. I am not using the ladder on the side of the Fronteris landing pad, as you can see. That's just a visual thing. I assume it's not been approved for health and safety at work. But you have got steps. So the steps are light, the handrails are insignificant. The steps do cost 1 inch to climb, but you cannot end a move on the steps. So it represents like, if you're coming from the step side, you can use them as light cover. They're not heavy and they're just 1 inch to climb. Then you've got the hab bunker, which is heavy with vantage on the top. And then you've got the rest of it. So the stockades are heavy. The stockade with the gate has accessible, so you can use that accessibly. Then you've got the hab bunker door, which is also accessible. I've decided not to use the blocking rule for the gaps in the windows because I'm just like, you know, it's up to the TO if you want to do it at that point. And then we've got the Vox antenna. So it's got a ladder. So if you want to climb it with the ladder, it only costs 1 inch, and it has got the vantage rule and is entirely heavy. But I am not a fan of how broken it is, potentially. So this is what I've done as an optional rule, which is something I'm going to test when I run events using Volcus. But effectively, I've got the rule exposed. So while operatives are on the vantage of the Vox antenna, count as being valid targets regardless of their order, i.e. having a conceal order does not prevent you from being a target for shoot actions, etc. Because basically, because you can only ever get one model up there, because that's all that can really fit. If you get up there, you are untargetable, uninteractable, everything. So to make it fair, this is why it's optional. Personally, if I'm running events and I'm using Moroch, I will use this rule, but I've left it as an optional rule, so it's down to TOs. So like if someone gets up there, you do have the entire view of the kill zone, so you basically get good shots, you will get accurate too, and all of that jazz. But the trade-off is you will count as being in cover, but you will always be a valid target. So someone can always shoot you regardless of the order you have, as long as they can see you. So it makes it a little bit fairer, because it's just otherwise this terrain piece gets really broken quite easily. But it's an optional rule, so I'll leave it down to you, the players and the TOs if you want to use. So for Moroch Map 1, as you can see, the hab bunkers, one of them is broken up, so you get 2 pieces of heavy. On all the maps, the what do you call it? The radio tower will be on the landing pad, because otherwise it's really hard to build like a map with this. So you've got the landing pad covering 2 objectives, and to make it fairer, the rocks antenna is covering the other objective. It has got the heavy terrain facing the opponent, so if you go up there like and you aren't engaged, you will be in cover, but it's just to try and balance it out. So it's equal staging points for both players. Remember, it's only 2 inches to climb and like a free drop for everyone on the landing pad. And, you know, you've just got some nice equal staging points. Red side has the gate, whereas to make it a bit fairer for the grey side, they have safer deployments but are pushed a bit further back. For map 2, once again, you've got the antenna covering 1 objective, the Vox tower counting, well, the big one covering 2. So you've got interesting terrain cover options there. And then you've got the gate in the middle. So there is just enough gap on the left-hand side for a 25mm model to move around. But you've also got the gate. So you've got like some fair trade-offs there just so it's overlapping. Then for map 3, this one has been quite difficult. So you've got the Vox antenna covering the central objective. The landing pad is just in the middle, but grey side has the ladder facing it so they can get further onto it more quickly. Whereas the red side has the heavy building, whereas the light side has the, what do you call it, the gate. So, I forgot to add, you can door fight with the gate. So the gate allows you to door fight as well. So it's not exactly the safest terrain feature, but it's to balance out the advantage of having easier use of the landing pad. So hopefully that evens out. Then for map 4, once again, this time, I've only got that landing pad covering 1 objective safely, the building covering the other for red side, and then you've got this heavy stockade in the middle. So the way it works is, from red side, they can just get a tip onto like the objective, whereas on the grey side, they can actually drop down behind the stockade. So it's kind of like covering the middle, because the problem is, if you put the stockade on the center line, it basically blocks anyone, because I didn't want the landing pad in the drop zone. So you've got some interesting trade-offs there. Obviously, grey side have the gate as well. Then for map 5, this time the landing pad is covering all 3 objectives. So the Vox antenna is just in the open. And then you've got safer staging points for either player. But to make it fair, I've pushed your heavy stockades back 3 inches. So it's not exactly quick for you to get to the center unless you're wanting to climb over those heavy stockades. Then for map 6, you've technically got the landing pad covering all objectives, but the antenna's also covering the top side. You've got the heavy stockades and the trains pushed a bit back as allowed to just make it difficult to quickly get to the mid. But once again, I think that's an all right map, because now we only have 3 objectives. With 6, it was a complete mess. So for the map pack overview, those are all, I think that's 5 kill zones, 5 kill zones worth of terrain. So when it came to the WTC terrain, I used Travis. He helped a lot with, from Just Another Kill Team podcast. We actually did it while in America. So we did all the WTC terrain together, and he helped advise me with the older kill zones. Like, I asked him, should we use scalable? Said no, we can just use ladders. And then he was helpful with the Nachmund stuff as well, so I wouldn't have been able to do that without him. But I've updated my Octarius to make it a bit clearer. Thanks obviously goes to Albert Cortez and his battle kit website, which I'll link in the episode description. So you've got Chalnath, which should work. Like, it's not scalable, but that's why you got ladders. Then you've got WTC, which works pretty much as expected. In my opinion, it's a better Octarius. So I think that's the best out of the bunch. Then you've got also Nachmund, which is a bit weird. So you've got ladders everywhere on the ferrotonic furnaces, but also the smokes just work like normal smokes, because the problem is I thought about porting over the old Nachmund smokes and it just got really confusing. And I didn't want to confuse players, because that was the worst thing about Nachmund. People going, it's smoke, but it's doing a different thing to all the other smoke. So it's just like an now 2-inch bubble of smoke from the edge of the smokestacks. So Nachmund, I think, is okay. And then Moroch, I actually think, is probably, after Octarius, the best of the rest. So I would go WTC, Octarius, Moroch, then the rest. Because I think Moroch is quite interesting. I thought about allowing people to put terrain on the landing pads, but I was like, nah, just make this big annoying block, which probably does mess up, which does unfortunately mess up probably Jaegers a bit, but it just means you'll put your 3 live mines where appropriate. But I think it's fine. I think it's a really interesting kill zone, especially if you stack it up more together And I think just because there's free objectives now, it's a lot easier to use. But it all should be fairly straightforward and usable. Once again, please feedback to me if you have any questions and stuff about tweaks and stuff, because I'll probably do it because I can just edit on the Battle Kit website and then update the PDF. If you already have access to PDF, you just have to like go to the download link again, and it will just be the same QR code. So actually, if you scan the QR code for the old kit, it will just go to this one. So I've worked out how to have a living link QR code, so that should all be easy to use. But hopefully it's fine, it's usable, like, because I know a lot of people still haven't fully updated to Vocus yet. There's still going to be like a few months before everyone gets enough terrain and is fully painted, but it should be enough staging point. I mean, I personally still think Vocus Gallowdark is good, but for example, if you wanted to use a third kill zone and didn't like Beta Decima because Beta Decima is horrible, and I will try maybe figuring out how to do Beta Decima, but it's so painful. We'll try and figure something out for Beta Decima, but using one of these older kill zones is a much better alternative. I would rather have events go like, oh, we want to use a third kill zone, let's use something from the last edition instead of Beta Decima. Like, I'd be much more fun with Vocus, Gallowdark, and then going like even Chalnath. Any of the old season 1 kill zones, like any of those from last edition would be much more preferable than to Moroch. Not Moroch, to Beta Decima. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you find it useful and helpful? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Lemon Games, an affiliate link at Crossfire Games with a discount code, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Zombie Businessman, Tom, Supercow, Stephen, Sam, Professor, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatworld, Lucas, John Thomas Graham, Fangzu, Draken, Dave Meets World, Darcy, Dad of Golden's Chris, and then for my veterans of the creator, I have Sandra and Mark. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me, helps support the channel. As you can tell, I'm still quite sick. I managed to play a tournament, and I was like, the hardest part was driving there. No, I had some tough games, but driving there was not great. I'm not great. I don't feel great. So hopefully the explanation wasn't too nasally. I'm trying my best. But I have another video this week, and then like, I don't think I'll go to the tournament on this Saturday because I need a break, right? I'm going to burn out because I'm just like, my body's like, just sleep. But hopefully this Mac Pap is really useful. I've had a lot of requests, so hopefully you find it useful. But yeah, I'm going to go rest now. And remember, no matter what kill zone you're playing on, you always have a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.